Welcome back to Financial Fundamentals, where we break down money concepts so they actually make sense. Today, we are talking about something that is really hard to say out loud. Losing your nest egg. Maybe the market crashed and took half your savings with it. Maybe a bad investment wiped you out. Maybe a medical emergency, a job loss, or just life hit so hard that the money you spent years building is just gone. If that is where you are right now, I want you to hear this first. You are not broken. You are not done, and this video is going to show you exactly how to think about what happened and how to start coming back. By the end of this, you will know what a nest egg actually is, why most people make it worse after losing one, and the step-by-step order to rebuilding it the right way. Let us get into it. Alright, first things first. What even is a nest egg? A nest egg is money you have set aside for a big future goal. Retirement, buying a home, a real emergency fund. It is not your checking account. It is not money you plan to spend next month. It is the pile of money that is supposed to be there later when you really need it. The phrase actually comes from an old farming trick. Farmers used to put a real or a fake egg in a hen's nest to encourage her to keep laying more eggs. The idea being, the egg in the nest attracts more eggs. Your savings work the same way. The more you protect and add to that pile, the more it can grow over time. And here's where it gets interesting. In Dr. Seuss's 1940 book, Horton Hatches the Egg, there is a bird named Maisie who just abandons her egg and flies off to Palm Beach on vacation. She leaves Horton the elephant to sit on it through storms, through cold, through ridicule. That is actually a perfect picture of what happens to a nest egg when nobody is watching it. It does not take care of itself. Someone has to show up for it consistently, even when it is uncomfortable. Keep that image in your head because we are coming back to Horton later. Now here is the part that most people skip, and it is the reason they end up losing a second nest egg after the first one. Before you do anything, before you start rebuilding, you need to figure out why you lost it. Because the fix depends entirely on the cause. And this is not a therapy session. This is a practical step. Think of it like a doctor diagnosing before prescribing. You would not take the same medicine for a broken arm that you would take for food poisoning, right? Same thing here. So let us walk through the main reasons people lose a nest egg. One is a market downturn. That means the overall stock market dropped, and the value of your investments dropped with it. Two is something called concentrated single stock risk. That is a fancy phrase that just means you had too much money in one company or one investment, and that one thing collapsed. Think of it like putting all your food budget on one restaurant. If that restaurant closes, you go hungry. 3 is fraud. Someone scammed you or stole from you. 4 is an uninsured emergency. A medical bill, a car accident, a home disaster that insurance did not cover. And 5 is something called lifestyle drift. That is when your spending quietly crept up over the years and ate into your savings without you noticing. Each of these needs a different response. Treating a fraud loss like a market loss will lead you to repeat the mistake. So step 1 is honestly asking yourself, which one of these was mine? Okay, let us pause right here for a second. So far, we have covered what a nest egg is, where the phrase comes from, and why diagnosing the cause before rebuilding is so important. Does that make sense? Good. Let us keep going. Now here is something that confuses a lot of people, and it is actually good news for some of you. There is a huge difference between a paper loss and a realized loss. A paper loss is when the value of your investment drops on screen, but you have not actually sold it. The number looks bad, but the money is still there, still invested, still able to come back. A realized loss is when you actually sell. When you press the button and take the money out. That is when the loss becomes real and permanent. Think of it like this. Imagine you bought a pair of limited sneakers for $200. The resale market dips and they are only worth $120 right now. If you do not sell them, you have not lost anything yet. The value might come back. But if you panic and sell them for $120 today, that $80 loss is locked in forever. Historically, broad diversified markets have recovered over multi-year periods. That is not a guarantee of future results. And I will say that again at the end of this video. But the point is, if your portfolio dropped and you have not sold, take a breath before you do anything. Now let us talk about rebuilding. And I want to be really clear about the order here, because the order matters. Step 1 is building a starter emergency fund. An emergency fund is money you keep in a regular savings account, not invested, just sitting there and easy to reach for when life punches you in the face. The commonly suggested target is 3 to 6 months of your essential expenses. Essential means rent, groceries, utilities, transportation. Not Netflix, not eating out, the stuff you absolutely cannot skip. Now, the right amount varies depending on your job stability, where you live, and your country's safety net. So use that 3 to 6 month range as a starting point, not a hard rule. The reason this comes first is simple. If you start investing before you have this cushion, the next emergency will force you to pull money out of your investments at the worst possible time. And that is how people lose a second nest egg. Step 2 is tackling high-interest debt. High-interest debt is debt where the interest rate is so high that it is actively eating your money faster than almost any investment can grow it. Credit cards are the classic example. If your card is charging you 20% interest, that is a guaranteed 20% drain on your money every year. Paying that off is like getting a guaranteed 20% return, which is honestly better than most investments can offer. Step 3, and only after the first two, is getting back into long-term investing. And here's where you want to use every advantage available to you. In the United States, those advantages are called tax-advantaged accounts. That phrase just means accounts where the government gives you a tax break to encourage you to save for retirement. The most common ones are 401k plans through your employer and individual retirement accounts, called IRAs. In Canada, the equivalents are called RRSPs and TFSAs. In the United Kingdom, they are ISAs and pensions. The contribution limits and the specific rules for all of these change every year, so always check the current official figures for your country. But the big idea is the same everywhere. Use the accounts that cost you the least in taxes, because every dollar you save in taxes is a dollar that stays in your pocket and keeps growing. Have you ever thought about what your money could look like in 20 years if you just stayed consistent? Like, have you actually sat down and done that math? Let me walk you through an example. This is just an illustration, not a prediction. Imagine two characters. Maisie, who had $50,000 saved up but abandoned it. No new contributions, no attention, no care. And Horton, who starts from zero after a loss but contributes $500 every single month into a diversified retirement account. At a hypothetical hit per an average annual return, which again is just an example for illustration purposes, Horton's account would grow to roughly $69,000 in 10 years. And in 20 years, it would be around $232,000. Starting from zero, just $500 a month faithfully, month after month. The exact numbers are not the point. The point is the behavior. Steady, consistent contributions over time can rebuild a nest egg from nothing, while an unattended one tends to crack. Be like Horton, not Maisie. And that brings me to the biggest misconception I hear from people after a major financial loss. I need to take big risks to make it back fast. I understand that feeling completely. You are behind, you are scared, you feel like you need to run to catch up. But here's the thing, chasing high-risk bets after a loss is exactly how people turn a recoverable setback into a permanent one. Going to the casino after losing your wallet does not get your wallet back. It just empties your pockets too. The other misconception is, I will never rebuild in time. And I want you to hear this. Even a shortened time horizon can be improved. Higher savings rates, reduced expenses, working a few extra years if that is an option, these things move the needle far more than throwing money at lottery ticket investments. The boring, consistent path is almost always the better one. Let me also bust one more myth while we are here. A nest egg is not just one big account sitting somewhere. It is really a system. Emergency cash on hand, insurance to protect against catastrophic losses, retirement accounts growing in the background, and diversified investments, meaning money spread across many different things so that one collapse does not wipe out everything. Think of it like a pizza. A pizza is not just the cheese. It is the crust, the sauce, the cheese, the toppings, all working together. Pull one layer out and you have got a mess. Your financial foundation works the same way. All right, before we wrap up, I want you to think about this for a second. What is the one thing from today that surprised you most? Maybe it was the difference between a paper loss and a realized loss. Maybe it was the order of rebuilding. Maybe it was Horton and his $500 a month. Whatever it was, hold on to that. That is the thing your brain is telling you it needed to hear. Here is the single most important takeaway from everything we covered today. How you respond in the months after a major financial loss matters more to your long-term future than the loss itself. Panic sells lock in losses. Risky bets dig deeper holes. But a clear head, the right order, and consistent faithful contributions over time, that is what brings the nest egg back. You have got this. If this video helped you make sense of something that felt overwhelming before, hit the like button. It genuinely helps more people find this content. And that is the whole reason Financial Fundamentals exists. If you know someone going through something like this right now, share this with them. Sometimes the most helpful thing you can do for someone is send them a video that says, "Hey, here's a place to start." And if there is a money concept you have always been confused about, drop it in the comments. We go through every comment and your question might become the next video. This video is for educational purposes only and is not financial advice. Markets and investments carry risk, including the possible loss of principal. Always do your own research and consult a licensed financial professional before making investment, tax, or money decisions.